As a content creator and serial blind buyer, I go through the collection every now and then to figure out, would I ever rebuy this or re-recommend this? Once it empties out, if ever, will I go ahead and spend my money or recommend purchasing these particular items? And I've determined no. These are 10 fragrances that I will never be rebuying again because it just does nothing for me. Let's roll my motherfucking music so I can put you on to 10. There's probably more fragrances that I won't be rebuying.
We're all alone. Yeah, best friends on the south side. In case you cared, out of all your friends, I want to be Cuba.
Blessed morning, my beautiful peoples. You know who it is. It's your boy, C to the U to the B to the A. Yeah, I won't get these again. They just don't do nothing for me. They barely get anywhere. And some of them I've gone back and forth. I like them. I don't like them. I like them today. I don't like them tomorrow. I don't like how they've aged. I don't like the maceration process. Maybe it started to change, or my skin is just getting older, wrinklier, and smellier. And these just have no purpose on it. So the first one that I'm going to pick out is a niche fragrance that I liked. It just didn't grow on me anymore. It stayed stagnant, it stayed kind of boring, and compared to the other fragrances in this line, especially the ones I own, it just don't do much for me, and that's by the house of Mancera, and that's So Blue. What ended up happening with Mancera So Blue is that it ended up smelling like one of my wife's body washes, and I think it was like some summer's eve shit. I went to a department store and they had some sample female perfumes, and I was smelling stuff. And for some reason, within days, I was wearing this fragrance and it reminded me so much of like some vaginal spray, like some pussy era, buttery, fruity, soapy fragrance that didn't do well. Like it just traumatized me. Then I wore it again and I'm like, no, this is not gonna do it. It's aquatic, yet it's fruity. It's fresh and it's musky. But it also smells like a feminine body wash off of my skin. Like the more I start to sniff it, I'm like, I barely wear this shit. It's gotten maybe 6 wears in total, and it just doesn't do shit for me. I don't get the love that I'm gonna get from it. I don't get the visceral reaction of positivity that I want from it. So why the fuck would I buy this again? So Mancera So Blue is so gone. Next one. The next fragrance that I have found to be just boring. Boring, boring, boring. That's Mont Blanc Explorer Blue. I like to give fragrances a chance. I do a lot of first impressions. I enjoy first impressions and unboxings. That's what I like. That's my vibe. And I do give fragrances a little bit of burn after, especially when I feel that maybe I came off a little harsh, or maybe it's just, I don't know. It's not a bad fragrance, don't get me wrong, and a lot of people will tend to enjoy this. It has a very safe, generic-y type profile, but if I'm gonna be honest, the probability of this being something that I'll rebuy or wear on a consistent basis is slim to none. Explorer Original gets a lot of love and a lot of burn for people since it lives in that Aventus space. This one lives in a space in its own, and it's loony bin. I don't know, this shit is just, I'm not getting this shit again. Next one. This one, I went through the motions with this fragrance. I started first, not fucking with that at all. I want nothing to do with it. This shit is ass. It started to grow on me. I started wearing it a lot more. Now this was a full bottle purchase because I still had a sample and I haven't touched much of the bottle, and I started revisiting it last week. And I'm back to square one again. I'm just confused by this fragrance on how I don't know, and the fragrance is 𝐃𝐈𝐍𝐿𝐼. Clearly this bottle hasn't gotten much burn. The sample is probably done. It's somewhere in my sample box. I tried to revisit this bottle last week because it was a little bit of a chilly day, and I was like, damn, maybe I should pull this shit out. I didn't want, I sniffed it, I did a little air spray. I didn't want to wear it. It actually gave me a little bit of feeling. I don't know what about 𝐃𝐈𝐍𝐿𝐼 gives me this bipolar love and hate relationship. Part of me indicates there's gonna be a time that I'm probably gonna re-smell this shit and really enjoy it. But what I have determined is that once this is done, I'm not buying this anymore. Creed Viking really doesn't serve a purpose in my collection, to be honest with you. Like, maybe I'll feel different as I have in the past with this fragrance, but right now at this point, it's not something that I would recommend buying. Really sample it for a while, because you might go through the same motions as I did. It's like, it's a love-hate relationship, but right now, it's like a not needed in my stash relationship. This one might be the most confusing one in this list, but do I recommend buying it or re-getting it? No. Next one. Now this fragrance was a disappointment. I did not anticipate that this would be what it was, and really ended up being worse after I started giving it more wear, and that's DS Durga's Burning Barbershop. I didn't love this fragrance at first, and I definitely don't love it now. There is a strong barberside smell here, and this burnt paper and chemical vibe about it that is very artistic, but no compliments will be received with this fragrance. There ain't shit about this that I would say I love, other than the artsy portion of it. As far as it smelling like a burning barbershop, fucking facts. It smells like somebody Molotov cocktailed that barbershop. But it's not something that I need to wear. There's other situational artistic fragrances that you can wear and you're like, yo, this is still a vibe, and the backstory is dope because it smells like what it's intended to, and I'll still get compliments and enjoy the wear. This one has nothing. No fucking redeeming quality about it at all, other than it smells like lit up, fired up Barberside. This, don't buy it. Next one. When it comes to summertime vibes, you're looking for a fragrance that can have balls. Freshies are struggling in the summer to maintain its longevity and performance. So I figured 𝗏𝐻𝐻𝐿 can really do a fire freshie, and this one does last. But why? I don't need it to last. I kind of want this shit to go away a little bit more, and this is the 𝗏𝐻𝐻𝐿's number 3. I bought it for the top. That's cool as shit. That right there is like $500. Super powerful for the summer, but just blah. Super powerful for the summertime, but doesn't need to be. So I don't want this shit to last more than 25 minutes on my skin. Shit is just blah. Especially for the price point of this fragrance. It's just whatever. Let me smell this shit again. Is it bad? No. This doesn't get that much wear because it's just kind of whatever. It's peppery, it's aquatic, and it's just okay, other than the performance factor, which is great. But am I buying this again? No. Would I recommend it? No. Next one. The next fragrance is a flanker of one of the best budget fragrances out there, and that's Mont Blanc Individual. But this one is straight butt. This is Mont Blanc Individual Tonic. I didn't have the highest hopes for this fragrance, let's make that abundantly clear, but really? Boring. Shit was whack. It wasn't super expensive either. However, I would never purchase this again. The juniper berry here was kind of just whatever. It didn't have much of that Mont Blanc individual DNA and really doesn't stand a candle to that fucking thing. This is just kind of like an easy cash grab. Really has nothing interesting about it. The more I wore it, the more boring I knew it was. And this will just live on the shelf. And if it ever gets more wear other than being a room spray, this will never be purchased again. Next one. Now this fragrance is actually a good fragrance. I do enjoy it, but I know I will never purchase it again. It's by the house of MFK, aka Maison Franck, and that's Amorous. Very nice fragrance. It's a fun fragrance, but not something that I feel that I would need in my collection once it's gone. This one has gotten a good amount of wear, and it has a mass appealing quality, but I feel it's also MFK's kind of like entry level, like a very safe option for you to get from that lineup. I don't think that this has like the ultimate sex appeal, but it is very enjoyable to wear, but not something that I need in the collection long term. Like once this is gone, there's no purpose in me really buying it again, to be honest with you. It's just good. It's not amazing. It does cover mass appealing and compliment getting, so I can't necessarily recommend you not to get it, but I'd say that you don't need it. I'm telling you, it's good, but not good enough to keep in the stash or really rebuy. Buy. Next one. Now this one is my fault. It was a spontaneous buy. I liked it at the moment, and the more that I got to spend time with it, didn't do dick for me, and that's the House of Le Labo's Tabac $25. That's all it is. There's nothing special about it. It's a nice tobacco fragrance, but it's just nice. The more that I wore it, the more kind of like, and more that I wore it, take that with a grain of salt, because I wore it like a time and a half more. It just didn't do shit for me. Really, it's just kind of whatever. And there's so much better tobacco fragrances and really cheaper tobacco fragrances that this ended up being a spontaneous buy for me that just had no purpose in my stash and absolutely will never be purchased again. This is just whack. Next one. Yo, this is how little I pay attention to shit and how I just go spontaneous about things. I didn't notice that this list has 3 fragrances from the house of Mont Blanc. I just literally noticed that right now. This is how much I focus and pay attention. I'm just grabbing and smelling and not looking at the labels until they hit my table. So 3 fragrances on this list are by the house of Mont Blanc. Mont Blanc Explorer Blue, trash. Individual, tonic, trash. And Mont Blanc Legend Red, trash. I'll retract my statement. It isn't complete trash. It's blood orange, juniper berry, mass appealing, but just kind of a cash grab. It's not gonna be a bad fragrance that people aren't gonna give you compliments on, but it's just not something I would ever rebuy again. It's just room spray, maybe a gym fragrance. Maybe if my little cousins come over or my niece or nephew, can spray them on so they can have fun and feel sexy or whatever. I don't know. This is just, don't buy it. Next one. And this one definitely was another blind buy mistake, and I just bought it for the color of the bottle. And it's Dolce & Gabbana the One Gold Eau de Parfum Intense. This is like one from the lineup that you just don't need. There's nothing fire about this shit. It's just okay. With this fragrance, I'd rather get the original or the EDP rather than this. This didn't do shit for me. It really was just kind of whatever. Another blind buy mistake. Just an easy cash grab. Don't buy this shit. I'm never gonna rebuy this shit. I'll barely use this joint, so take it as you will. These are 10 fragrances that I will not be rebuying as soon as they're gone from my collection. Coincidentally, 3 of them just happen to be Mont Blanc, and I just figured it out at the end of the video, but it is what it is. Cuba be all over the place. Don't buy them. Don't give yourself the heartache. There's a bunch of other shit that's just better and even possibly cheaper. I love y'all motherfuckers from the heart, and I'll see y'all bitches next time. You know it is biggest in the game. Smooches.
Cubaknow, what's fresh, who's best? One of them's gonna pass the test. Cubaknow.
For the fly gun holder, money folder, motor roller, start tag when it's time to call back. For the rough, rugged, and raw way, this nigga Jay, it's a game, but he don't play. Hey, for all the chicks that got dead in the penthouse suite on top of my mom's crib. It's nonsense you never get in. It's nonsense that you would think that